boy, oh boy, oh boy. When the great wave arrives, everyone is gonna be in for a big surprise. Well, here goes.
Submitted for the approval of the Midnight Society.
Oh, joy!
Let's rock.
It makes me wanna fight!
Dear Journal, it's me, Doug.
You have it!
Baby's gotta do what a baby's gotta do.
That was a hoot!
On your mark. Get set.
Oh, here it goes!
Cowabunga, Slimesters and Gakoids! Welcome to Splat Attack, where we're taking it back to the slime-filled past. I am your gnarly co-host, Brett.
I am your tubular co-host, Alex.
Oh, Krumm,
I miss Krumm.
Yeah, I think it's pretty good. Krumm, I didn't expect to see you here today. What are we doing?
Special guest appearance.
Glad to have you here.
So, I see two different levels of surfing. We got some cool surfing over on that's ridiculous. The animated surfing is a cooler scene than the scene that I have behind me.
Please elaborate for our Slimesters and Gakoids, Alex.
Okay, so first of all, for those who are listening, Brett, what is your virtual background?
It's actually a screenshot from Aro Monsters: The Great Wave, which is what we're doing an episode review of today for our patrons, exclusively for our patrons. And we got Ickis and Krumm here just practicing on their iron surfboard.
And mine, for anyone who is familiar with this movie, will give themselves an eye roll. But this is from the movie Escape from LA, because I knew Brett was going to have the surfing clip as this virtual background. And I wanted another, in my mind, iconic 90s surfing scene. And Point Break was a little too cliche, so I had to go with Escape from LA, and this scene is notorious for how cheesy it is.
It's gonna be some kind of ride. Some kind of bitch ride. Let's go, come on. Oh, bitch. Bitches, man.
Okay, let the front edge pick you up. Don't get on your board till you ride to the top. Don't blow it. If you fall off the board, it's the big wind out. Got it? Woo! Bitch. Hang on, Snake. Oh!
But you've got Kurt Russell, who is surfing through LA, trying to catch up to Steve Buscemi on a car on an elevated platform. And it's a very, very poorly made scene. You can tell the green screen probably just as bad as you can tell a virtual screen. Yeah. But it's fun. It cracks me up, and not for the reasons it's trying to. But when I think surfing, this is my go-to.
I guess you don't surf too much in real life, huh, Alex?
Oh no, I am way too. First of all, you're not going to get me in the ocean.
Yeah, I know. I think we already discussed in our Rocco's Modern Life episode review that neither of us like the beach too much. I mean, it's nice to look at, I'll give you that, but getting there and then getting into the water, it's a little different story.
Well, we haven't really addressed this, but I don't really have many fears, but I have an intense fear of sharks. So if you get me in the water, even or in ocean water, even up to knee high, I'm starting to freak and I can't stay. I got to get out.
It's safe to say that most creatures of the deep are very threatening looking. You got manta ray, stingray, you got giant squid, jellyfish. There's just sea urchin. There's tons of things that are ready to kill you if you get too close. Yep. And I'm not trying to say to everyone who's watching this or listening to this, stay away from beaches forever. I mean, just do what you want to do. If you're playing it safe or you're confident enough that you can surf around them or punch them in the nose to make them go away. We're just speaking from
Lara Croft.
Yeah, we're just speaking from our own personal experiences, and it's safe to say that we prefer swimming in pools than swimming in beaches.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No underwater creatures there.
Yeah. I myself got stung by jellyfish in third grade, as I mentioned in episode 24. That kind of ruined it for me. And also stingrays floating nearby me once when I was on a cruise with my family. But that's beside the point. We're here to talk about our real monsters, the Great Wave. So
we're going to be above water.
Yes, we're going to stay above water on our surfboards, and we're going to ride this out to the end. So hold on to your...
Going to be on our surfboards and our ironing boards.
Yes, hold on to your boards. I was going to say butts, but that's not going to help you. You're going to just sink to the bottom if you go without a surfboard. Yeah. All right, so let's dive in with some episode info before I read off the episode synopsis, shall we? The Great Wave first aired on Nickelodeon on December 24th, 1994 as Season 1, Episode 9B, and was written by both Scott Krager and David Pavani, and directed by Jim Duffy. Funny enough, the Rocko's Modern Life episode is also from Season 1, Episode 9B, so what are the odds that we're doing 2 episode reviews that parallel each other? But this one's less beach themed, so thank goodness for that. So to start the tale, we open the episode with a gnarly rockabilly guitar riff as we see a gray slug-like monster inhale gallons of sewer water that he spits out a few steps later. We cut to Ickis and Krumm riding a folding ironing board upside down like a surfboard on top of a wave, caused by the slug monster's actions. They duck, dip, and dive their way through different pipe routes, finally spinning out as the water dissipates to droplets. Ickis admires Krumm's determination and ability to navigate the course during their practice run. Ickis complains how the Snorch should not be allowed to compete the upcoming race, and how Krumm is going to win. Cut to a wall of trophies panning to the Snorch, chowing down on some sludge on a wooden door, while Zimbo instructs him to meditate while he prompts him with some victory-themed affirmations. Zimbo states while the oversized monster drifts off to sleep how important it is to maintain focus, then immediately hits a fly on the Snorch's leg, cutting away to the entire dump vibrating from his seismic yell of pain, with said fly leaving the premises unharmed. So what do you think about these first couple of scenes, Alex?
Okay, so Our Real Monsters, in general, it's one of those series that kind of falls in the same category with me as Rocko's Modern Life. And if anybody saw our main episode for the Rocko, it's not that I didn't like it. It's just it didn't really connect, and it was mostly there as white noise. I do remember there were several episodes very, very well, especially season 1 and 2. And then by season 3 and 4, I started losing interest. What was there, and it was just on. But this season, I didn't remember this episode, and just like so many others,
you did or did not?
I did not.
Okay.
And just like I had said for several of the other shows that we've discussed previously, I've been wanting to rewatch them. So again, I was really looking forward to watching this because it's All Real Monsters, and the Klasky Supo designs, I think, really fit better for monster character designs than baby designs and human designs. I think that works well for Rugrats, but I think like just looking at Ginger, as told by Ginger and Rocket Power, I think it doesn't quite have the same.
It hits a weird uncanny valley for me where it's like, they're like human cartoon characters, but it doesn't feel right. Something feels off or creepy, intended or unintended.
It's creepy. He gives me the crispies.
Yes, but I thought that it's a perfect combination for monsters.
Oh yeah,
and the monster designs are always so creative and fun, and everything they've done. I do remember the episodes that I recall, the designs that the creativity they had with props and things like that. I thought was really, really cool, and I actually thought of this show when Monsters Inc. came out.
Oh.
Because I was thinking you guys kind of took some of the ideas that they did here and you were doing it over in Monsters Inc. But anyway, regardless, I was looking forward to watching this episode, and I do remember this being a show I didn't laugh out loud a lot with, nor did I connect as much with it, because we talked about how much we connect with Doug and we connect with Rugrats, and we also talked about how much we connected with the humor of Ren and Stimpy, and as an adult I connect with Rocko. now going back and watching Our Real Monsters, I still haven't really got that close connection. It's just a fun story. At least this episode was overall a fun story. And I was, okay, it's going to be a competition show. Because as soon as it starts with Krumm practicing his surf run, I pretty much could guess where the beats were going to go from this point on. But regardless, it's not made for adults, it's made for kids. And if I really paid attention to this episode as a kid, I would have enjoyed it fine. I did laugh out loud when was Zimbo? Was that his name?
Zimbo's the little fly character, and Snorch is the big yellow one.
I laughed out loud when Zimbo hit Snorch with the wrench. That made me belly laugh. And then for the fact that the Snorch was out of commission for the rest of the episode, I was surprised they went that far with that bit of violence.
Yeah, well, I guess because they're monsters, you can poke and prod them a little bit more than, say, like babies from Rugrats.
Get away with a lot more. I mean, you could almost go as far as Ren and Stimpy violence, but even then, Ren and Stimpy violence, it's kind of like Looney Tunes. They're fine the moment you come back to them. Whereas this one, it was, nope, he's out. He's out for the competition.
There's a little more sense of realism with the reactions and the physics involved. So it's quite jarring if you're not expecting it compared to other Nicktoons.
Yeah. And I'm a sucker for dark humor. It's right up my alley. So that I wasn't expecting it. I loved it. And I was hoping that we would get a lot more of this dark humor as we went along.
We'll see. I do have to add in my 2 cents real quick is that,
Go ahead.
Obviously I grew up watching Are You Afraid of the Dark, and that was one of the earliest shows I remember most fondly. And I tuned in mainly for the monsters, the ghosts, and the scares. So when Our Monsters came out, I'm like, all right, more monsters, bring them on. I'm excited. Obviously I love Rugrats and Doug and Ren and Stimpy too, but this really jazzed me up when it first premiered on Halloween in '94 or just before. And I just followed it all the way to the end as far as I could, right along with Rocco at the time, where I just wanted to see what happened to these monsters as they're learning new types of scare tactics to prey on the humans, what kinds of adventures they get into, what kinds of obstacles they overcome, if they have any character development or story arcs that go beyond an episode or two. And I really enjoyed a lot of the dynamics that happen between Ickis, Krumm, and Oblina, particularly Ickis and Krumm, because they do have their fair share of squabbles, but usually in dire situations, they get their act together and realize what's truly important to them. As, spoiler, we'll see later this episode. So it's quite a delight whenever a chance I get to review Our Monsters. Even the lesser episodes I don't quite remember, vividly in my memory. So moving on to the plots, back at Monster Academy Amphitheater, the Grumble informs his class that the Snorch will not be competing in the annual Great Wave Race due to his sudden injury. While the Grumble searches the student body for a monster to take the Snorch's place, Krumm contemplates whether or not his chances to win this year's Great Wave competition will be in his favor. Once the Grumble chooses Ickis, Krumm laughs hysterically, knowing he'll be a shoo-in for the trophy prize. The monster continues inflating his ego by repeating his victory speech, while the other 2 roommates, Ickis and Oblina, order him to go to bed. So how do you feel about Ickis entering the ring now?
I saw that coming a mile away. Again, just at the very beginning from the setup, you can tell that Krumm is overly happy and, I've got this in the bag. And then when the Snorch is out of commission, you knew they're going to bring somebody else in, and it's going to be a friend, and they're going to have that rivalry for a minute, and then there's going to be some kind of reconciliation at the end. You know that's going to happen. As an adult, you know that's going to happen. As a kid, I probably wouldn't have noticed right then that was going to happen. It wouldn't have been about halfway through this story when I would have picked up on how it's going to end, because we've seen this kind of trope done in a lot of cartoons at the time. So it wasn't anything new. It was just the All Real Monsters theme on top of it. But I did see the Ickis coming on pretty quickly to be his new competition. But I want to throw out how much I love the Grumble. As a kid, I just didn't get him. I did not get him, but now I'm as an adult and my humor has changed. And thanks to a lot of Tim Curry and a lot of Rocky Horror Picture Show and a lot of those twisted sense of humor things, now every time I see the Grumble, it would be like if you made Tim Curry and there's an almost like the Batman animated series Joker, and put them together.
Yeah,
that's what I imagine the Grumble as. But I just loved him I loved him in this episode. I don't remember many of the others, but I do. He was cracking me up, especially this one.
I was going to say, it's funny you mentioned Tim Curry because he actually voices Zimbo.
Yes, I knew that.
Yeah, it would have been even more fabulous if he was the Grumble, though, because obviously there's like slight Rocky Horror influence with the red shoes he's wearing and the very dramatic way he projects himself, where he's like very little quiet, and then he's like, "Shut up!"
Yes,
all of a sudden. But he constantly like goes from 0 to 60 in like very precise moments.
Yes. And for the longest time, as a teenager going into an adult, I thought that was Tim Curry for the longest time doing the voice of the Grumble. Mm-hmm. It wasn't until I got back into Nickelodeon and was researching a lot of stuff that I found that it wasn't. But I do want to say my favorite bit in this was when the Grumble threatened that if anyone is caught drooling, they will be immediately ejected from the premises. And then they're cut to one monster who's instantly drooling and then, like an ejector seat, took off. So there was another one of those dark moments, and I just loved it. It reminds me of something out of Hotel Transylvania or the Addams Family.
Before we begin, I'd like to remind you that anyone caught drooling in the no slime section will be promptly ejected from the stadium. Whoa!
Very appropriate. Yeah, I love little moments like that. It's just like when you're really sucked into like the competition of the episode, it's like the little lighthearted moments that are just purely silly and off kilter, like reel you back to make, remind you that this is a cartoon and we're having fun here.
Yes.
Yeah, it's great. The next morning, monsters are placing bets with toenails and bugs on which monster between Krumm and Ickis will win this year's race. Needless to say, most monsters except the inexperienced Ickis expect him to lose. Despite Ickis' downer attitude, Oblina encourages him to win through hard work, discipline, and training, thus blowing everyone's expectations of his poor performance right out of the water, figuratively speaking, of course. Inspired by Oblina's words, Ickis begins training at once, starting with ear push-ups somewhere in the dump. However, our pesky fly friend from before shows up to bother our underdog hero, causing him to fall flat on his face, and later triggers a dragon-like monster to roar at Ickis, who is using his tail for jump rope. As if that weren't enough, the fly returns while Ickis is using a mattress spring to increase his arm strength, only to be catapulted by its compressed energy right out of the scene. With persistence, Ickis masters his push-ups and finally eats the fly upon meditating atop the highest mound at the dump in front of an enormous full moon. He is ready.
I am a sucker for a sports montage.
Me too.
It could be the most terrible sports movie. You throw a sports movie montage in it, it is instantly my favorite moment.
I mean, Rocky started the whole trend, wouldn't you say?
Yes, I was going to say that exact same thing. But I don't really recall, because we've seen this trope, the storyline, a lot of times in cartoons of the 90s. I'm pretty sure they still do them today. But I don't really recall a lot of training montages because you've only got 11 minutes to get your story in and they want to hit all these beats. I'm sure there are. I just don't remember any. But going back and watching this episode, I love the creativity that they put in there with the ears and then the dragon's tail. But the sitting down with the chopsticks is pure Karate Kid reference. And I was loving that. I loved the Are You Afraid of the Dark? I love the All Real Monsters twist to that stereotype. So that was fun.
Definitely. Yeah. I mean, it makes you realize just how strong Ickis' ears are. Like,
yes.
I mean, I can't do that with my ears. I don't know how I would. But it's always fun to see, monster use unusual parts of their body to obtain a goal of some sort. And in this case, it's, you're doing ear push-ups instead of hand push-ups. So it's pretty cool to see that. One thing that also came to mind when I saw this training montage, particularly when Ickis like was meditating and eating the fly, that reminded me exactly of this season 1 episode of Hey Arnold called Mugged, where Arnold gets mugged by a creepy guy in an alley, like his bus pass is taken from him, and he has to like get back at him somehow or like man up so that he can get vengeance essentially. And he trains with Grandma by like getting into this whole karate gi and going into this like Zen garden room in the boarding house, and he practices like taking the fly from her palm to like get into the zone and really, just really like heighten his senses. And when he's able to like finally snatch it from her hand and then show it back to her, that's when I thought, wow, the teacher has become the master. Very good, young grasshopper.
You are one.
With the fly.
Yes. Enter the fly.
I'd love to see that movie.
I don't want to enter the fly.
No, not literally. But the Fly is a very good horror movie with Jeff Goldblum, I think.
Yes, Jeff Goldblum and Gina Davis. Great movie.
Some serious body horror there. But anyways, back to our monsters. In the next scene, Ickis sneaks into the Wave-O-Matic water slides after dark to get some hands-on practice before the main event. The determined little monster climbs a skyscrapingly tall ladder with a trash lid strapped to his back, ready to dive headfirst into his test. After a loop-de-loop, a corkscrew, and some twists and turns, he lands into the bottom of the wave pool, where he is sucked up by the pool filter only to meet Krumm inside. Both wonder why the other monster is there, using pool gunk as a scapegoat for their unexpected presence. After a brief exchange of taunting, Ickis exits the filter, more determined than ever to win. So how do you feel about this little moment of Ickis going to a water slide and then unexpectedly running into Krumm here?
I loved the water slide. I thought that was really cool. I loved the design of it.
Would it be something you would ride at a theme park?
Yes, if they had the ability to do a water loop-de-loop and the water doesn't fall out, yes, I would absolutely ride that thing.
Just thinking about that scares me to death. I mean, I love water slides, don't get me wrong, but going into full pipe water slides that are like pitch black and also like the really steep ones that just go straight down, that scares the bejesus out of me. So I don't know if that's something I'd participate in, but it'd have to have some sort of design aspect or incentives, maybe some fancy colored lights at night to make it more enticing for me.
Yeah, those kinds of things. I love those kinds of things. I live for them. So if they ever made that an actual thing somehow, yes, I would do it. But as for the rest of this clip, it's pretty standard fare. Yeah. There's not anything outside of just watching him ride the slide that really stands out to me as a great moment. It's you need this moment to tell the story.
It's a little bit of a breath from the fast pace that we've been sailing along with so far. So it's good that things slow down for a moment just to have this bit of, conversation between the two as they're, tensions rising and the imminent event is, only a day or two away. Mm-hmm. So cut to the Monster Academy amphitheater where we see all the seats quickly filling up with eager students before the Grumble announces the event. After a drooling monster gets ejected from the no slime section in the stadium, as mentioned by Alex, the Grumble asks for the stage to be cleared for the Snorch and the event competitors as the torchbearer hurls a flaming tire into the stadium's Olympic-like cauldron, signaling the start of the event. Beside Oblina sits Krumm's dad, Ickis' dad, and Ickis' uncle in the crowd. The Grumble signals the competitors to their stations while suppressing the building excitement of the crowd with a loud, "Quiet!" Ickis feels worried about the pressure of the race while Krumm reassures him half-heartedly. Just then, we cut to the Super Bowl's halftime show, where a massive wave emerges after all the city's toilets flush simultaneously. Oh boy. All the competitors are largely neck and neck until a lavender-colored monster with large ears takes a different pipe, distracted by his map. The rest continue onward while Oblina cheers both of her best friends on. Back at the race, the bandage-wrapped monster who drools green slime takes a nasty spill, quickly followed by Krumm's ironing board losing a safety pin, causing him to lose control. Ickis makes a critical split decision to save Krumm's life just before he gets swept away by the wave. Ickis clings onto an overhead pipe using his ears, with Krumm dangling from Ickis' feet as the wave subsides and Krumm laments how Ickis could have won if he kept going instead. Ickis replies with a heartwarming gesture on how it was more important for him to be there for his friend than to win a race at the end of the day. So what are your thoughts here, Alex?
I don't recall in the episodes that I can remember any episode where him being Ickis, where his ears played such a pivotal part. Is there? I'm assuming there's others.
Mm-hmm. Not off the top of my head. I definitely think he does use them. It's just been a while since I've seen Iroh Monsters episodes so often.
Because I know that his size shifting and things like that comes into play a few times.
Mm.
But I liked the callback because I was just thinking that the sports montage was just going to be a sports montage, and it's a fun, clever thing to do with monsters. But then he actually ended up having to use the strength of his ears to save both him and Krumm, and I thought that was pretty cool. That was a nice little. That was a nice callback. The other thing that and of course you have the reconciliation at the end, which I thought was done well. It wasn't anything that really connected with me, but it's still a pretty important thing to tell, especially for kids, especially for competitive kids. But the thing that I liked the most, I was wondering, what in the hell is the Great Wave? How is there a weather anomaly that happens the same time every year? Is there a group of monsters who are going to be making this wave in some way? I spent chunks of time like this where they're just sitting down and talking and there's no humor going on. The part where they're in the filter and they're arguing, I'm still sitting there. I'm not paying attention to you now.
Like you're wondering where the Great Wave is coming from, essentially?
Yes, I want to know how they're going to make this Great Wave, because they haven't said at all. How do you know that there's going to be this big wave that comes through at the same time every year? It's bugging me. And then they cut to the Super Bowl. Whoever came up with that idea is pure brilliance.
Yes.
That was such a clever idea, and it was so funny. And it took so little to convey that. You didn't need a big explanation at the beginning. It just, they knew it was going to happen. What is it? What is it? What is it? And then the payoff of this moment, that is the highlight of the episode for me. That was hysterical.
The cherry on top for me of that joke is particularly when the announcer from the Super Bowl says, "And now the Super Bowl halftime show where we see those dancing wacky raisins."
Yes. Yes.
Simultaneous flushing all around the world, or at least in that city. Great.
That was very clever. Very, very clever.
Definitely.
What is that, Squirty? There's a tidal wave coming?
So moving on, while the two monsters walk back to the main arena, the Gromble is about to pass a large coffee maker-shaped trophy to Vlorina, the blue monster who used her own tongue as a surfboard and ended up winning the race. However, the Gromble's announcement of the winner is interrupted by loud clamoring cheers of Ickis! 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 Yeah, for his bravery in saving Krumm's life during the event multiple times. The Gromble decides to settle the score by separating the trophy into half and giving each competitor their piece of the prize. Vlorina for winning fair and square, and Ickis for trumpeting in the face of adversity. The crowd cheers jubilantly for both in the Academy Amphitheater. Meanwhile, the Lavender Monster with the big ears is still consulting the Great Wave map, only to find himself dreadfully lost in the Antarctic Circle while a cruise ship sails on by. He grabs a makeshift paddle and makes his way into the sunset accompanied by hula music. Cut to credits with that gnarly surf music again.
Or the Mystery Files of Shelby Woo music.
It does sound very similar. I was thinking more Dick Dale, who did like Miserlou from Pulp Fiction.
Yep.
Yeah, good times. So what are your final thoughts about the ending of this episode before we give our ratings?
I don't remember ever seeing Ickis' parents in any of the other episodes. They may have showed up. I just don't remember them.
It's
So
to my knowledge, he doesn't have a mother. He only has a father and an uncle who occasionally shows up.
Okay.
They play more of a pivotal role in the episode that's at the end of season 1 called "Where Have All the Monsters Gone?" Where like there's this weird cauldron with like lava spinning around in it, and somehow the level of it determines like their state of existence, where parts of them are disappearing rapidly until people believe in monsters more. I guess kind of like Monsters Inc. with the scare meter going on.
Yeah.
But they're just kind of loosely introduced here before they get some more character development as side characters, family members to Ickis in later episodes.
I like seeing them. I thought that was a nice touch. I liked seeing his family members. The tag at the end was funny. Not as funny as some of the other things, but at least not to me. But comedy is so subjective. But it did make me giggle. But the one part that I really liked the most out of this bit was how the crowd was constantly interrupting the grumble.
Ickis, Ickis, Ickis.
Quiet! But and then they go back into it.
Yeah.
I did really like the fact that the crowd was so instantly taken with Ickis.
Yeah.
Because usually in a story like this, you have to have at least one character point everybody in the underdog's side of, no, this guy did this too. Oh yeah, that's true. Yes. As soon as they started getting the trophy and he was giving it to Lady Tongue, they were instantly going for Ickis, and I thought that was cool. But they probably didn't have. It's the end of the episode. They didn't have time to do a whole lot more.
Yeah.
But I did like that, and I like to think that the Grumble wasn't going to give it to Ickis, at least not at first, because the Grumble's never struck me as a very benevolent character. He's always been very aggressive and enjoys your misery and that kind of thing. I don't really see him being so, okay, yeah, Ickis, you're deserving of it too. Good job. I like to think that he did that out of pure peer pressure with everyone else. Just Ickis, okay, fine.
100%. 100%.
Those are my thoughts on the final part.
Yeah, I love it. I love the crowd. I love Grumble wrestling with them and finally giving in and literally like ripping apart a metal coffee maker as a trophy. Like he must be pretty strong to do that. And I like how each got their own merit for their their own accomplishments. Florina won obviously fair and square, and then Ickis and Krumm, for Ickis's courage. So, it's a nice wrap up in a bow, happy ending.
Yes.
And it's a very straightforward episode. So there's really no complaints here. There's really not much to nitpick either. Even the slower moments where they take a breather to just talk and, consider their feelings before the great wave happens is refreshing to me.
Yes, agreed.
So with that being said, Alex, what do you want to give for our rating of Real Monsters, The Great Wave?
I really enjoyed it. There's nothing about it that makes me go above and beyond. So there's definitely not in the S God tier level.
Yeah.
But I did enjoy it. I think I would have liked it more if it wasn't such a stereotypical story that we've seen in a lot of cartoons. I like things to be a little more, I like the stories to be a little more unique to the show. But that's not to say that it's still not a good episode. I still very much enjoyed it. Especially the dark humor parts, the Zimbabwe smacking Snorch. Zimbo is, I know I asked it. Zimbo, okay.
Zimbabwe is a country last time I checked.
I was thinking of
not Zamboni either.
over here in Kentucky, we have a theme park called Holiday World.
Okay.
And they have Splash and Safari, and they have some of those tube rides, and one of those tube rides is called the Zimbabwe.
Oh man, I gotta visit you for that. It sounds fun.
Oh man, it's hysterical. It's great fun. But I liked that. I liked the ejecting of the drooler, and I loved the creation of the big wave. But the story overall, it's just pretty standard fare, and it wasn't anything that really I'm gonna say as one of the best. I'd say it's not quite middle of the road, but not top either. Right there, in between those two. So I'd give this a B, which is a Splatisfactory. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. Wasn't great, but I enjoyed it.
That's funny you mentioned that because in both of our episode reviews around this time, we flip-flop our ratings. What are the odds? So I'm not going to delay this. I give this a Splatsulent, an A, because I love Iro Monsters. I love seeing Ickis and Krumm put aside their differences to work together. I hate the Snorch. I think he's very imposing. I wouldn't want to run into him in a dark alley or even at school as like a bully or even in detention. So just seeing him get benched gave me a sigh of relief for Ickis. I related a lot to Ickis, and that's how I got through this show growing up, is because I was the underdog. I was the wimpy kid. No one believed in me, and yet I wanted to set out to prove people wrong, that I am worthy of their attention. And like Ickis, he proved that today. And not only did he... Well, he didn't necessarily win, obviously, but he did it for the sake of helping his friend. And to me, that is very commendable, honorable effort, and he got a just reward for that. And of course, the crowd loves him after no one wanted to bet on him, earlier in the episode. So, it's a fun episode for me. Yeah, the plot doesn't do anything too special aside from the little gags we've mentioned. With Super Bowl and Ejection Guy, but can't complain. I guess my only nitpick is I wish we had some more development for Vlorina, because I honestly didn't care for her. She was just kind of there, and I didn't empathize with her for winning or even any time she had dialogue, which is unfortunate. And we don't even see her, not even in the background, for most Iro Monsters episodes here on out. So missed opportunity there, writers. You could have done something with her to get more integrated with the Ickis Krumm Oblina trio, maybe even make her as an ally or something during some scares.
You could have done a rock band episode, and they all are modeled to look like Kiss, and she could have been Gene Simmons.
Yeah, with her tongue sticking out.
Exactly.
Yeah, she would have fit that role quite well. I can imagine her with that makeup. And then Krumm would be like Paul Stanley. Oblina would be the guy with the cat makeup, and Ickis could be the other one. Yes. You know the names better than I do. I just know very little of their music catalog. But I love it. It's a fun episode, not God tier, not even in the S upper echelon, but solid.
Yeah, fun episode.
Yeah.
Definitely fun.
I recommend it to any Iro Monsters fan, whether you've seen this episode or not, go watch it. And apparently it was noteworthy enough that Nickbox made a Great Wave shirt based off of it in, I think, 2020, summer 2020 box. So check that out, too. Any final thoughts, Alex? I guess we get...
No. I agree with everything you said. It was a solid episode. And there's not much else to say about it. It was good. Check it out.
Short and sweet and to the point. With that being said, let's move right on to our Say What segment.
Say what?
Say what?
Say what?
Say what?
Say what?
Say what?
Say
what?
So for Say What, we've got 5 interesting quotes. So we're going to see if Alex can guess who they are from. You're not really competing against anyone else, so it's really just for bragging rights at this point.
All right, let's do this.
All right. Question 1 for Say What. Who said it? I know this course like the hair on my pits. Alex?
Krumm.
Yes, those pits. That is correct. 1 point, Alex.
Woohoo!
I know this course like the hair on my pits.
I wish I had a third person here.
I know. Competition.
We're talking about a competitive episode, and you're the only person playing. What's the deal with that?
I scared the competition away.
You did.
I'm the Snorch.
Question 2. Who said it? Voila! Completely and thoroughly disgusting. Bon appetit.
Zimbabwe. Zimbo.
Zimbo is correct. Yeah, not Zimbabwe, Zimbo. So 2 points for you.
Yeah. It'll always be Zimbabwe in my head.
That's his nickname.
Yes.
Voila! Completely and thoroughly disgusting. Bon appetit.
Question 3. Who said it? Who among you would benefit the most from a little competition?
Who among you would benefit from a little competition? Grumble.
That is correct. 3 for 3 so far, Alex. You're on a roll, or rather, you're riding a wave.
Let me see. Who among you would benefit the most from a little competition?
Question 4. Who said it? You know, you have the advantage over everyone else. They expect you to lose, right?
I was going to try to imitate the voice, but no one can be the Lady Kavanaugh. Oblina.
It is Oblina. That is correct.
You know you have the advantage over everyone else. They all expect you to lose, right?
And finally, question 5. Who said it? Boy, oh boy, oh boy. When the great wave arrives, everyone is going to be in for a big surprise. I like how that rhymes.
That one, I don't know. Ickis?
Ickis is correct.
Hey!
He says it right when he reaches the top of the water slide, actually.
Ah, okay.
Boy, oh boy, oh boy. When the great wave arrives, everyone is going to be in for a big surprise.
So,
Gotcha.
Congratulations, you got a perfect score.
That's a first.
Yeah. No, actually, I think you got a perfect score in the muscular beaver trivia.
Did I? Oh, yeah. I think I did.
Yeah, that was impressive because I was trying to throw you off your game. but here, because the episode is so short, it's hard not to.
Yeah. And I had watched it twice today because I wanted to have some fun stuff to talk about. So
me too.
So it's very, very fresh in my mind.
Yes, a refreshing and fresh episode.
Yes.
So thank you so much, Slimesters and Gakoids of Patreon, for tuning in to this episode review. With our closing question, we'd like to know from you, either in our comments or in our email, splatattack2021@gmail.com. What is your favorite moment in The Great Wave? Or are there other surfing-themed 90s Nick episodes that you enjoy? Let us know by email, DM, comment, really however you can contact us. We just want to hear from you and engage. So think that over a little bit and let us know for our next Patreon episode. By the way, Alex, do you know what we're doing for our next Patreon episode, which is the first episode of season 3?
Not off the top of my head. I might have an idea, but I don't want to give it away if it's wrong.
Okay. Well, I'll just tell you. Tune in next time on Patreon when we pack our backpacks and head backwoods with David the Gnome.
That was going to be my guess.
Yep. In a special retrospective episode. This is a show I fondly, albeit vaguely remember from my earliest years growing up with Nickelodeon. So it'll be an interesting exercise to see how the show impacted Nick fans, both back then and today. And there was actually a fan of David the Gnome that I contacted way back in 2020 during the pandemic who actually remembered it pretty well. So hopefully we can get him on board for that retrospective when we cover it. I don't remember if it's like late 90s or early 90s or late 80s David the Gnome, but we'll explore that more when you come back for next month's episode.
Yeah, they definitely played the late 80s and went into the early 90s.
Yeah, if nothing else, definitely reruns. Because how else would I see it otherwise? I wasn't born for most of the 80s. All right, guys, that's it for today. Tune in next time. Catch all of our episodes on YouTube that we've done so far. Check out the season 2 overview while you're at it, and get excited for season 3. We have a lot of surprises in store for this fall season, so don't want to miss it.
Thank you all for supporting us through the season 2 Patreon. Thank you guys. You guys are amazing.
Thank you so much. And definitely spread the word too if you know anyone who'd be interested in our content. We're always looking to grow and build a community here on Patreon. Alrighty, Alex, I think it's time to wax our surfboards and head on home, but will you drain the slime tank for us, please?
Aye, co-captain. Don't forget your half of the trophy. We don't want to lose it on the way home.
Oh, I got it right here. I'm not going to lose it in any sewage water. You can count on that. I'm going to actually mount it in my bathroom, too, just to remind me of this episode. It'll be in the shelf right above, so I think of it every time I flush.
Such a touching moment.
Yeah. Speaking of flushing, splat you later.
Bye, guys.
Reprise the theme song and roll the credits.
Hard to believe, folks, but it's time to say goodbye.
Nighty-night.
Hey,
check us out next time for more adventure and another great legend of the Hidden Temple.
What'll we do till then?
Chill for a couple. We'll be back.
You're on, Nick.
And it was time for the superhero to move on. I declare this meeting of the Midnight Society closed.
Bye-bye.
That was absolutely wonderful. I have never seen such a display of courage.
You did it. You finished in one piece.
I'm proud of you, son.
Thanks, Dad.